This is Michael Popok with a hot take. Anytime I can say the words Peter Horseface Licavoli and Steve Bannon, the podcaster, and Trump bootlicker in the same sentence, I'm a happy guy, and it makes for a happy podcast. I'm going to talk fundamentally about the fact that Judge Nichols, the D.C. Circuit Court judge, finally got around to ordering Steve Bannon to go report to jail in July, to prison, to serve his 4 months for criminal contempt of Congress, because he refused to both testify to the Jan 6 committee despite being subpoenaed, and he refused to turn over documents. 2 counts of criminal contempt of Congress. Now, Bannon had raised all sorts of crazy defenses, none of which were allowed under a line of cases starting with Peter Horseface Licavoli. The Licavoli decision from 1962 or 1963 in the District Court of Washington, D.C. basically says there are very few, if any, defenses to contempt of Congress, and reliance on your attorney is not one of them. And thinking you have executive privilege, in his case, is not one of them. And if you didn't respond, that's it. I mean, the good faith is not really at issue here. But the judge said, because even though the decision was 60 years old, the Licavoli decision, I just like saying it, Peter Horseface Licavoli, and his decision was over 50 years old, the judge says, well, maybe the D.C. Court of Appeals and my bosses there at the appellate level, maybe they'll change their mind because of the interesting issues about executive privilege, and maybe the Supreme Court will. So why don't I delay your sentence, because it's only 4 months anyway. And if I make you go in now, which was last year, you will have already served your sentence, and it kind of undercuts your ability to appeal. So he allowed Bannon to appeal. We reported on it right here on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch network. What was the result? He lost at the 3-judge panel level. All 3 judges said, yeah, no. Contempt of Congress, Licavoli, you're going to prison. I mean, I'm summarizing it, but that's the essence of the decision. Well, Bannon didn't like that. So he tried to go to the full panel of the D.C. Court of Appeals, all 12 or 13 judges. It's an en banc decision, as we say. And none of the judges were interested in overturning the Licavoli decision. Therefore, Bannon is cooked. His goose was cooked. Time to report to prison. In fact, the Judge Nichols, who's a Trump appointee, called Bannon back into court with his lawyers. Now listen to the lawyer lineup. David Schein, all right, we've seen him before. He's the Orthodox Jewish lawyer who takes off, doesn't argue on Shabbat, on Sabbath. Okay, I get that. Who represented Trump during the first of 2 impeachments. It's hard for people to keep all of this straight. That Donald Trump's not just a 34 criminally convicted felon and has been indicted in 4 different jurisdictions and owes hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for fraud, rape, and punitive damages, but he also was the only person to ever get impeached twice. So in his first impeachment trial, he had this short of stature lawyer named David Schein, who got hired by Bannon. But you know who else was there? Evan Corcoran, of all people. Evan Corcoran was this close to being prosecuted for fraud related to Mar-a-Lago and the deceptive practices and fraud used to try to keep national defense information and classified documents out of the hands of the Department of Justice and the FBI. He was the lawyer that the Judge Beryl Howell of the same D.C. Court of Appeals, when she was the chief judge, ruled that it was more likely than not that he, along with his client, Donald Trump, committed a crime or fraud and stripped Donald Trump of his attorney-client privilege and turned over all of Evan Corcoran's notes. And they were very candid against Donald Trump about what he observed about Donald Trump's mens rea, or mental mind, mental state, in committing the crimes that have been charged in Mar-a-Lago. That Evan Corcoran. So you got Evan Corcoran. I mean, let me just put it this way. The MAGA lawyer pool that you can draw from is very thin. Many of them, and it got thinner when a number of them lost their law licenses. It used to also, that bench, if you will, of MAGA lawyers used to include Sidney Powell, Ken Chesborough, John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Jim Trupis, but everybody, and Rudy Giuliani, but everybody I just mentioned either lost their law license, about to lose their law license, got indicted and or pled guilty and got convicted of felonies or misdemeanors. So they're off the bench. So now you're left with a very thin gruel of MAGA Republican lawyers who are willing to represent anybody affiliated with Donald Trump or MAGA. Hence, Evan Corcoran, who has his own problems himself, and David Schein. And so they argued that in this hearing that, he's going to take it to the United States Supreme Court. Not so fast. Peter Navarro almost had an identical, but actually stronger argument for the application of executive privilege than Steve Bannon, because at least Peter Navarro was in and around the West Wing at the time when he was allegedly getting instructions from Donald Trump to assert executive privilege. Bannon was 3 years removed from the White House, was a podcaster at best when he participated in the Willard Hotel with the attempted overthrow of democracy at the War Room with Rudy Giuliani and Mike Flynn and himself and others. He wasn't even in the White House. At least Peter Navarro was sort of in the White House. And so he had a more compelling argument. And so the first stop on the train for the United States Supreme Court for Bannon, as Judge Nichols knows, is John Roberts, the Chief Justice. Not reliable. Will is circling the drain of history as one of the worst judges or Supreme Court justices we've ever had, Chief Justices we ever had. But he knows a failed appeal when he sees it, and he just turned down Peter Navarro's attempt. And Peter Navarro is down in Miami, getting visitors like Donald Trump to come visit him while he serves his 4 months in prison for the same exact crimes. Contempt of Congress. I've been taking Timeline's MeidasTouch for over a month now, and I feel absolutely incredible. I have way more muscle strength and energy to get things done. And as you may know, there's been a lot of legal and political news lately, and Timeline's MeidasTouch has helped provide me with the energy to get through these long days. Timeline, a Swiss-based life science company, is a global leader in urolithin A research. They spent 10 years doing research to bring this product to market. Urolithin A is a powerful postbiotic that is nearly impossible to get from your diet alone. MeidasTouch is the first product to offer a precise dose of urolithin A to upgrade your mitochondrial function. Take 2 soft gels a day for 2 months, and you can see significant improvements in your cellular energy, muscle strength, and endurance. After 4 months of taking MeidasTouch, you'll feel yourself getting stronger, recovering faster after a workout, and experiencing less inflammation, all part of your healthier aging routine. MeidasTouch is the #1 doctor-recommended urolithin A supplement that is NSF and Clean Label Project certified. Timeline has MeidasTouch in 2 product designs to fit your needs. Their berry powder, which is great to mix into your breakfast yogurt or daily smoothie, and their soft gels for those days where you're on the run and want a convenient grab-and-go option. Timeline is offering 10% off your first order of MeidasTouch. Go to timeline.com/legalaf and use code legalaf to get 10% off your order. That's timeline.com/legalaf. So I don't see Roberts, especially with the precedent of Navarro and Peter Horseface Licavoli, bailing out Bannon. Nichols, the judge, knows it. So he said, the reason I let you stay out is because I thought maybe my bosses at the Court of Appeals, the DC Court of Appeals, may find it interesting and may want to revisit the Licavoli decision. They didn't. In fact, the full en banc panel didn't find it interesting. The precedent stands. The Supreme Court hasn't overturned it. Peter Navarro has a very similar claim, and the Supreme Court didn't find that interesting. You need to report. And he pushed it out a little bit, gave him a little bit of a break, could have remanded him right there into custody, and still Nichols gave him a little bit of a break. He said July, which means July, August, September, October. July to August, September, actually November. So he will be in jail and not able to vote, even by mail or absentee ballot, for Donald Trump. It also makes it, I've seen people say, well, it's also pardon proof. Sort of. I mean, Trump, even if somehow his presidency got restored, he wouldn't be in office until January. The 4-month sentence would already been served. But he could give him, he'll have to go to jail for 4 months. But Trump, if he got back into office, could wave his magic wand of clemency and pardon him for those offenses, then have him expunged and sealed from the record as if they never happened. I mean, we all know it happened. And the 4 months in jail is, will have happened. So there is a pardon aspect of it, but he couldn't technically be pardoned to stop him from going to prison, because even if he won, he wouldn't be in office until January and the sentence would be over. And so we got to follow this type of stuff. I mean, Bannon's out screaming, "Nothing can silence me, even 4 months in jail." It's almost like he wants to go to jail, just like Peter Navarro. I mean, Peter Navarro got a visit from Trump. I'm sure he's been promised a new gig in the new White House should Trump come in with this Project 2025, where they're trying to, fill all of the positions, eliminate the civil servants, the lifetime appointees, get rid of everybody, co-opt the Department of Justice, overtake the United States Supreme Court, and reinstall all of these criminals back into the White House with criminal number one, public enemy number one, Donald Trump. And he can do it. He could even, think about this, I did another hot take on this. Donald Trump could even install somebody who lost their bar license and was indicted as the Attorney General of the United States. Think Rudy Giuliani. Nothing to stop it. Really nothing to stop it. Unless we can, except the public pressure campaign that we lead here on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch Network. If you like what I'm doing, I'm Michael Popok. You can follow me on all things social media at MS Popok. And then I do these kind of hot takes at the intersection of law and politics, about every day. I got 1,200 of them. You can go over and go listen or watch all of them under contributor or playlists on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Help them get to 3 million free subscribers. We have no outside investors. We are building this network with our bare hands with your help. And then we have a podcast. Now you know why Ben Meiselas and I named it Legal AF 4 years ago. It's for these exact times. Legal AF podcast, only on the MeidasTouch Network, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then on major podcast platforms of your choice. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.